शनिवार 7 मार्च 2020 को अंतर्राष्ट्रीय महिला दिवस के मद्देनजर नई दिल्ली के राष्ट्रीय मीडिया केंद्र में एक समारोह के दौरान भारतीय जनसंचार संस्थान द्वारा दक्षिण एशिया में मीडिया के भीतर महिलाओं की स्थिति के बारे में एक विस्तृत रिपोर्ट प्रस्तुत की गई।
हर सवेरा यहाँ तू है, सब वहाँ है जहाँ तू है, कदमों में तेरे।
इस समारोह का आयोजन भारतीय जनसंचार संस्थान और प्रेस इंफॉर्मेशन ब्यूरो के संयुक्त तत्वावधान में किया गया। समारोह में सबसे पहले अतिथियों को मंचासीन किया गया।
We would like to welcome our guests on the dais with a set of books on women published by the Publications Division, a media unit of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting.
इस मंच पर महिला एवं बाल विकास मंत्री श्रीमती स्मृति जुबिन ईरानी, भारतीय जनसंचार संस्थान के महानिदेशक श्री कुलदीप सिंह धतवालिया, इंटरनेशनल विमेन्स प्रेस कॉरपोरेशन की अध्यक्ष श्रीमती ज्योति मल्होत्रा, साउथ एशियन विमेन नेटवर्क की फाउंडिंग ट्रस्टी एवं कन्वीनर तथा पूर्व राजदूत प्रोफेसर वीणा सीकरी, सूचना एवं प्रसारण मंत्रालय के अतिरिक्त सचिव श्री अतुल कुमार तिवारी, ऑल इंडिया रेडियो न्यूज की प्रिंसिपल डायरेक्टर जनरल मिस ईरा जोशी और भारतीय जनसंचार संस्थान के शोध संचार विभाग की विभागाध्यक्ष प्रोफेसर अनुभूत यादव मौजूद रहीं। सबसे पहले भारतीय जनसंचार संस्थान के महानिदेशक श्री कुलदीप सिंह धतवालिया ने सभी का स्वागत किया।
It's my privilege and pleasure to welcome you all to this special event on behalf of the Ministry of IMD. This is a joint initiative of the Indian Institute of Mass Communication and the Press Information Bureau to celebrate the International Women's Day. We are grateful for the gracious presence of our Honorable Minister on this occasion. As the government is engaged in involving women in all spheres of nation building, I hope that insights from the report on the status of women in South Asia, which is to be presented by Professor Sikri today, inspires ideas and discussions to take the global movement forward. We also look forward to inspiration and guidance from the Honorable Minister for the road ahead in the path of women empowerment. Once again, I welcome you all and would like to convey my best wishes on the occasions of International Women's Day and Holy Festival. Thank you.
साउथ एशियन विमेन नेटवर्क की फाउंडिंग ट्रस्टी एवं कन्वीनर तथा पूर्व राजदूत प्रोफेसर वीणा सीकरी ने साउथ एशियन विमेन नेटवर्क के बारे में विस्तार से जानकारी दी।
It is really a signal honor for us to be here today, and I must deeply thank Honorable Minister for Women and Child Development for being with us and for releasing this report on the status of women in media in South Asia. I must say that this report represents the culmination of 5 years of solid work which has been done by the South Asia Women's Network. The South Asia Women's Network was founded in 2009. It brings together women from 9 countries of South Asia, all the 8 members of the SAARC as well as Myanmar. And these women, they are parliamentarians, they are academicians, they are researchers, they are NGO heads. They all have come together in one objective, that is to bring sustainable development for the women of South Asia.
प्रोफेसर सीकरी ने महिलाओं की मौजूदा स्थिति के बारे में बताते हुए कहा कि वर्तमान समय में लगभग सभी क्षेत्रों में महिलाएं एक खास किस्म की मानसिकता का सामना कर रही हैं, जो गैर बराबरी के लिए जिम्मेदार है। और इस रिपोर्ट के दौरान पता चला कि ऐसी मानसिकता को विकसित करने में कहीं न कहीं मीडिया की एक बहुत बड़ी भूमिका होती है।
There is no sustainable development in South Asia. You cannot achieve the sustainable development goals without giving women their equality and their empowerment. So then, where does this report come in? Now, when we started working on different areas, we work in the area of education, of environment, of health and malnutrition, of crafts and textiles, of arts and literature, everywhere we found that women are confronted with a mindset. There's a mindset that mitigates against their equality. We have had in South Asia the largest number of women leaders ever in the world. Presidents and prime ministers from India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal, all of them have been there. But it has made hardly any difference to the situation of women, their role in society and their contribution to society. And as we started coming across this role of the mindset again and again, we realized that today it is the media which makes the mindset of people. It is the media which makes a tremendous contribution to stereotypical thinking or new thinking or just telling people what they should be thinking about women and about women in media. And that is when the South Asia Women's Network conceptualized this project on, our title of our project is Women for Change, Building a Gendered Media in South Asia. We had UNESCO as our partner in the earlier years of our project, but the two institutions that I must thank the most in bringing this project together is indeed the IIMC, Indian Institute of Mass Communication, and the ISID, the Institute for Studies in Industrial Development. And I thank Mr. Dhatwalia, who is here with us, Mr. Suresh, who was the former DG, and Mr. Professor Murthy, who is from the ISID. And through these two institutions, we created our regional coordinators. I must here immediately thank Professor Jeshu Jetwani from the ISID and Professor Geeta Bamzai, who at that time used to be with the IIMC, Head of Media Research, because these regional coordinators actually created this project. What is the role of women in media throughout South Asia? What is their position? Women in media and women through the media. What is the portrayal of women? We took in the news media sector, including online. We took in entertainment and film sector. We took in course curricula. What is being taught about gender sensitivity in the course curriculum? What is the legislative mechanisms, policy mechanisms that affect women in media throughout South Asia? And what should be the policy recommendations? Our two regional coordinators created the project, monitored 9 countries, all the research teams in 9 countries, and each country had a country advisory board. And with these country advisory boards were mentoring the project. Now I'm just explaining all this because it will explain to you how we put all this together. We got in the research from different countries, our regional coordinators gave them advice, coordination, and finally in September of 2019, we prepared the interim report, which was discussed at SWAN's 10th annual conference, and we put together all these ideas. We have a team of editors, which is myself, Professor Jeshu Jetwani, and Dr. Ratan Kumar Roy, who is from Bangladesh and now with Jamia Millia Islamia. We have our India team, our India Country Advisory Board, Shri K.G. Suresh. I must thank Ms. Kumkum Chadda, who is here too with us. She is a member of our board and very valuable contributions. Professor Bishwajit Das from Jamia Millia Islamia, and of course Professor Jeshu Jetwani and Professor Geeta Bamzai. Now, having put together this interim report, it has taken us 6 months to analyze, to collate, to compile the country research reports, which are in volume 2, 9 countries, and in the first volume, the analysis. And what does our analysis show? Our analysis, in fact, is very significant. What this is seminal research. It hasn't been done by anybody before to bring together the situation of the 9 countries. This shows without any ambiguity, first, that the issues and concerns of women in the media in the entire region are largely similar, and second, that women working in media have a very difficult situation before them. They do not have wage parity, nor are they adequately represented at decision-making levels in management. With few exceptions, women in media face a gender-insensitive environment at the workplace, including discrimination, security threats, and violence. There is sharp gender inequality in media coverage about women. And even in the content that there is about women in the media, there's an exorbitantly high focus on sexual crimes and harassment. Most often in the advertising media, in the commercial spaces, women are stereotyped, belittled, and sexually objectified. In all these, whether it is advertising in the news media, entertainment, commercial spaces across the 9 countries. And each of this, what I'm saying, is reflected in the country research reports, and it is reflected also in the analysis that is coming. The portrayal of women in advertising and entertainment media, including in films, has been found to be retrograde, projecting women in a stereotypical manner, essentially either as an essentialist role, as a passive subordinate to men, low in intellect and social hierarchy, or as objects of desire. And in this stereotyping, there are some companies, some groups who are trying to show women in a modern role, but even then, when they're showing them as empowered, a deeper analysis of these advertisements also once again reflects a reinforcement of the old stereotypes and building of new areas. It is amazing to see that course curricula, what is taught to journalists, to the large number of men and women who are joining institutes of mass communication and media across countries, there is hardly any teaching about gender sensitivity. India has close to 300 institutes of mass communication and faculties in universities, but less than 10% of these have an module on gender, a module on gender sensitivity, a module on the need to portray women in the right light. It is amazing to think that it's only in Bangladesh where there are a very large number of faculties of course curricula of media and mass communication. But there in Bangladesh, 75% of them have a course, a module on gender sensitivity and gender teaching. The UGC put out an objective module on mass communication curricula in 2000 that had nothing on gender sensitivity. In 2019, they put out another updated mass communication module. Again, it had nothing on gender sensitivity. This just shows the kind of work that we have to do in putting together and teaching gender sensitivity before people go and start working in the media. Then we look at the area of legislation, policy mechanisms. What is the legislation and policy mechanisms that are there that can help women in media? India is probably the only country in the region that has a number of laws concerning women in media, including a law on ensuring, concerning women as such, not just in the media, including a law on ensuring maternity leave for working women, a law against sexual harassment of women in the workplace, and on setting up complaints committees within each organization. Other countries also have some policies, but in all the 9 countries, implementation is very lax. Serious efforts are necessary to overcome poor implementation, and the lack of an effective legal framework and policies does need to be optimally addressed in our countries. Now, when we put all this together, we come to the last part, the final chapter of our report. What are our policy recommendations for the future? What should be done? We have highlighted the urgent need for meaningful and effective mechanisms that can engage a gender-sensitive media, that can ensure a gender-sensitive media with equal, non-discriminatory rights, protection against sexual harassment and gender-based violence at the workplace, and respect for women in how they are portrayed, both in media content and advertising. Then we discussed what can the mechanisms for this, what should be the mechanisms for doing this, how do you do this? It can include formal legislation, it can include guidelines. In fact, when we began our project, you will see in the annexure to Volume 1, we created gender-sensitive guidelines for women in media in South Asia. And these are a kind of a framework set of guidelines which show how, what the guidelines should be for women working in media, for women in, having their own unions in media, women in news media, women in advertising, women in entertainment and film sectors. We have created gender-sensitive guidelines for all this with a special focus on how to prevent gender-based violence for women working in media. So should we have more of these kind of guidelines? Should we have codes of conduct and ethics? Should we have regulatory bodies, or should there be self-regulatory mechanisms? So these are all the issues that are currently under debate. We have highlighted each of them. And in the next stage of the project, we want to focus on these policy recommendations. In fact, in the ISID, we have the team at the ISID, Professor Jayashree Jetwani and Professor Seema Goyal. They have made a special multimedia toolkit, which can be a gender sensitivity test for the material that is coming in advertising or in news media or in other content about women. So we do realize that stronger initiatives by governments are vital in partnership with all stakeholders, public and private, to agree on the most effective mix of mechanisms and to rigorously implement existing legal frameworks or update outdated policies. Editors and owners must come on board to accept the seriousness of ensuring a gender-sensitive media and to pledge their cooperation in working towards agreed goals in this regard. The mechanisms can always be discussed. And here, Honourable Minister, we do need your support, because in every portfolio that you have so well held, you have always given great importance to the role of women and have actually kept it at the top of your agenda. So now, as we move ahead to look at policy mechanisms and recommendations, we would like to have this public-private partnership. And in fact, I would say that in bringing out this report, one of the greatest supports that we have had is from Tata Trusts. And they have actually helped us in every way in bringing out this report. So I think this kind of public-private partnership we would like to continue. And I recommend all of you, I'd like to say that this report is available on the website of the Swan at swaninterface.net. The full report has been loaded there. You can download it. It's a total of 700 pages, 300 pages in volume 1. You can see on the screen the full team of the South Asia team, which has Mr. Dhatwalia there as well, and IIMC and ISID and all the teams from each of the countries who came in September for the conference. And from there you can go to each of the reports that is there. With these few words, I'd like to once again thank the Honourable Minister and all the distinguished people on the dais for coming here today and for releasing this report. Thank you very much.
महिला एवं बाल विकास मंत्री श्रीमती स्मृति जुबिन ईरानी ने कहा कि मीडिया के क्षेत्र में महिलाओं को आज जिस गैर बराबरी का सामना करना पड़ रहा है, खास तौर पर छोटे शहरों और कस्बों में, उसे कैसे पाटा जाए। इसके लिए माननीय मंत्री ने सुझाव देते हुए कहा कि इस रिपोर्ट को मीडिया संस्थानों के मालिकों और संपादकों तक भेजा जाएगा।
I congratulate firstly all the women and men who have come together to bring about this report. What is startling is the data that I'm about to read. Of all the women who have been surveyed, 83% of them, respondents, were from the news media. 17% were from entertainment. And the findings are this. Only 8.96% of these women avail of facilities at the workplace. 42% have confirmed to those who have made this report that though they were entitled within their organizations, they were denied their benefits. This report also highlights that only 17% women have found that the maternity leave policy of their organizations have been excellent. And less than 44% have confirmed that for the same amount of work done by them and their male counterparts, they have received equal wage. Only 17% have received an annual increase in pay. Only 1.49% have received or benefited from annual bonuses. I repeat, only 1.49% have received or benefited from annual bonuses. Only 1.49% have participated in employee provident. 2% were entitled to travel allowance, medical benefits, insurance. 2.99% have spoken to those who have done this survey about annual pension. And of all the women who have been surveyed, only one respondent had insurance for covering conflict areas. Only one woman. As we come closer to the 8th of March, these are the women who will report on the status of women across South Asia. These are the women who will hold a mirror to society as to how the status of women can be improved. The question that begets us this afternoon is what happens to those names, those faceless people behind that pen. What happens to their status? So at the onset, my request to DGPIB is to send this report to all those media barons, all those who run HR, all those who are the CFOs of these organizations, so that they can do justice to women who report not only on women but at society at large. One of the greatest challenges, and Ms. Sikri was extremely kind to say that whichever portfolio I have been a part of, I have kept the issues of women right at the center stage of it. I remember as Minister of INB, one of the most controversial decisions I had taken was to provide for creche facility for journalists. I expected the men to give me a backlash, but few women were also not far behind. So the question that we need to answer is that there are areas that need these kind of support mechanisms. Can we pick and choose those areas as per our comfort? Or do we make it a mandatory venture for every organization, be it media, be it administrative, be it political? The other issue that now is a part of reflection of this report as well is the impact of technology on women on the field. We have seen reportage change from traditional methodologies of just putting pen to paper. My request to DGPIB, to the Ministry of INB, would be to possibly commission a study. We in the Ministry of Women and Child Development would help to commission a study on the impact of evolving technology on reportage and women in media. As Ms. Sikri has said in her opening remarks, we need to also look at how women are portrayed through the media. While suggestively there have been time and again interventions with regards to women depicted in advertisements, in films, in television serials, one also needs to look at the impact of how women agendas and policies are reported. For too long, women and women-dependent policies have been looked upon from the prism of social expenditure. Given that studies have now shown that when you invest in the life cycle of a woman, you are investing in talented not only labor, but also in talented business minds. When you invest in the life cycle of a woman, you also invest in the life cycle of an economy. So can we shift the agenda of reportage with regards to women and children from the prism of only social expenditure to social investment? I think when you shift that particular narrative, a lot about how women are reported will change. This report also highlights that most of the respondents, and especially those now working in media, are young women. I'm happy to note that when asked about sexual harassment at the workplace, there have been overwhelming numbers saying they haven't been harassed. But we also know the reality that women who do report harassment face oblivion with regards to their future. So how many have not reported or underreported out of that pure fright? That is an area that we should reflect on as well. There has to be one endeavor which looks at research with regards to women in regional media. My request would be, can we get out of only established templates of reportage or surveys or research limited to the national capital or glitzy cities like Mumbai? Can we look at women reporting from the ground with regards to regional media and see what is the ecosystem they need in terms of strengthening to sustain their reportage, to sustain their work? One of the areas of concern for me is the number this report throws up of only 2.99% women talking about annual pensions. Can we look at retirement plans for women in the media so that we, at their entry itself, prepare them, irrespective of whether they oscillate from one platform to another, as to what are the benefits they should accrue, will accrue, and how should it culminate when their career comes to a close in one particular field. But given those women who have had an accomplished career, who have been trailblazers, can we also look at opportunities to get them to become research leaders in fields that they have reported in and have exceptional experience in? As I come to a close with regards to my remark, I have read in the report, albeit briefly, about your suggestions for India. One of your suggestions with regards to academia is about how women are to be taught with regards to reportage. I hope that extends to men as well. But with regards to academia and how women are to be established, we in the Ministry of Women and Child Development, in conjunction with the Ministry of Science and Technology, have had the privilege of identifying 11 Indian women in the field of science and technology and are establishing chairs in their names across all universities in the country. Similarly, under the aegis of UGC, we in the Women and Child Development Ministry have funded establishment of 10 additional chairs in the name of women trailblazers like Anandi Bai Joshi, like MS Subbalakshmi, like Ahilya Bai Holkar, like Kamala Soni. These are 21 names. I am yet to come across a name featuring a woman from media. My request would be to DGPIB is to give us the name of one lady at least that we can, in conjunction with the IMC, constitute and institute a chair for women in Indian media so that they also become examples which will inspire more and more young women and men who hope to become legendary reporters in our country.
कार्यक्रम के अंत में भारतीय जनसंचार संस्थान की ओर से प्रोफेसर अनुभूति यादव ने सभी का धन्यवाद किया।
This is something which is a very important area, and I would like to thank all the researchers who were involved in this, because as Veena ma'am said that, when we talk about, gender sensitivity, it has to be a part of the curriculum. And from IMC side, ma'am, we assure that there are 3 things which we can do. One, as suggested by Honorable Minister, that, the research is out, but now the challenge is that we have to take it out to the newsrooms. We have to disseminate this study to as many people as possible. They should be aware of the findings of this research. IMC will work towards that. Also, we would like that, this study should be shared with the people who are there in the field of media educations, not only students, but also media educators who are teaching this particular subject. They should be aware of it. And this can be done in the form of a training program. And we are planning to conduct a lot of training program for the media educators, for the students, and also for the journalists who are there, who are working in the newsroom, so that we see reports, so that we watch programs which are gender sensitive.